this video, we're going to talk about landform creation through erosion. We're going to discuss weathering, erosion, water erosion, ice erosion, and wind erosion. So weathering is a natural occurrence on the Earth where natural forces take larger pieces of rock and turn them into smaller pieces of rock. So if we think about the lithosphere, the crust of the Earth, there are larger pieces of rock, and through natural weather, wind and water and rain and ice, those larger pieces of the lithosphere are broken down into smaller pieces. This can happen by two reasons: physical actions or chemical actions. Physical actions are those natural weather occurrences: wind, rain, ice. Chemical actions are human influence, where there could be acid added to that leaks into our water and it erodes rocks faster. And then there's erosion. Erosion is the act of moving material from one place to another, and it can be done through water, ice, wind, and living organisms. This is where where water would pass through an area, and as it moves, it picks up material along the way, and then as it slows down, it deposits it elsewhere. So first we're going to talk about water erosion. Over time, as water passes over a rock, it will erode it. It will break down a larger piece into smaller pieces. And as it moves, it carries small material and small bits of rock with it as it continues. Ultimately, it will create a valley. These are usually V-shaped valleys because a river or a stream that passes through it will break down the rock at the point, and then it will continue to erode it. When it reaches its ultimate destination, like an ocean or a sea, the river will slow down. And when it slows down, it will drop those materials that it's picked up along the way, and they will settle at the bottom of the oceans and the seas. Now, if there's a movement of plates underneath these bodies of water, they could push up this material, and that would displace the water. It would have to go elsewhere, and it could create a plain. And this is actually how the interior plains of Canada were created. And we have ice erosion. Now, this generally happened back in the Ice Age, when glaciers or ice sheets were moving across the surface of the Earth. And as they moved, because they were such a force, and they would carve through the Earth, the lithosphere, and they would create these U-shaped valleys because they literally would cut out sections of the lithosphere. And as they were pushing, anything that was in their way would kind of fold up and roll along ahead of it. So when it would stop and ultimately melt, like in Norway in the fjords, it would deposit whatever material it had pushed along with it. So boulders, rock, sand, and silt that had collected along the way would end up wherever the glacier stopped. Wind erosion. This happens when there is a bare land surface. Not a lot of obstacles, not a lot of trees, not a lot of higher elevated land formations, where when the wind goes across, it sort of can just, it's like an open field, and it can just blow across. And as the wind goes, it picks up material and carries it with it. When the wind slows down, of course, it drops those materials. So when we think about erosion and how it created land formations, it's basically the movement, the breaking down of larger pieces of the lithosphere into smaller pieces, and then the movement of those smaller pieces from one place to another. So the movement of large boulders or sand or silt from one place where it naturally was to a new place will alter that land formation and change the makeup of the soil, what can be grown there, what animals live there, and that's how erosion creates landforms.